And welcome back, everybody. The Old Gab Box podcast and radio show, all brought to you by Casa de Campo, our friends down in the Dominican Republic. I'll be down next week. They cut the ribbon on Teeth of the Dog. That's that Pete Dye gem of a golf course. Cannot wait. Go to casadecampo.com. Best golf in the Caribbean. All right, our next guest, longtime friend, Hall of Fame coach, Marshall, University of Georgia, still lives in Athens. I'm talking about the one and only Jim Donnan. Coach, it is so good to see you. It's been too long. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Do I get to go with you?
Yes.
Part of being on here. I mean, that's pretty impressive, man. You know how to get some good sponsors. That's impressive.
That's the deal. Coach, next time down, you're on the plane with me. How about that?
Yeah, I'd like to go down there. I don't know if I can play golf anymore, but definitely. And I enjoy keeping up with you, doing all these PGA events. That's got to be a good gig.
Oh, it's been good, Coach. 21 years now, working on 22 next year. So very blessed, excited about the future. So I'm still plugging along. Let's put it that way. You know how that is.
The good thing about it, those guys trust you, and you got good interaction with them, and just giving you a little love there. You do a great job with it.
Well, thanks, Coach. Yeah, a whole bunch of Georgia Bulldogs, too. It is amazing when I'm out there, Coach. These guys, Harris English and Kisner and all these guys, my goodness, they love Georgia sports, but especially football. And I'm telling you, I can't go out there and talk to them or walk with them without them talking about the football team. It's crazy.
Yeah, they had a fundraiser over here about 3 weeks ago when we were playing Texas to help the golf NIL. They were one of the things whoever was walking down the fairway with them was asking them what to predict about the game tomorrow. And, of course, they all had their ideas. Nobody knew we were going to beat Texas like we did. But it's good to have them in our corner. And, of course, they like to be on the sideline and all that.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and they love it. I love that, not just Georgia fans, but I mean, regardless who I'm walking with, depending on their college, they love talking about the old school, you know. Hey, I wanted to mention this, too, for our listeners and viewers, and we talked about it last time Coach was on. For example, this Saturday, they'll do the UGA watch-along, so you can clip on, log on, and Coach will be there talking about the game as it's unfolding. And, Coach, you have like 250,000 viewers. I mean, this thing's growing.
I think we kind of lucked out the week that YouTube kind of went on the frizz that they thought that maybe they could watch us too. But the whole point, it's kind of like Eli and Peyton. You just kind of pause your TV and then get it up to speed with us, and we do a commentary. But it's kind of a homer show, but it's definitely gives you a little bit more insight into what's going on, because even though I'm getting ready for the old age home, I can still call a game once in a while, thanks to you teaching me how to do it.
Yeah, many, many years ago we worked together. You know, it is interesting, Coach, and I worked with the late, great Mal Moore, too. And he used to always say, listen, he could tell by personnel and formation, down and distance. He said, that guy could probably get it right about 85% of the time what they're going to call. I mean, when you guys have been in as long as you have, Coach, I guess you know those things, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically you're trying to be like the offense or defensive coordinator in the press box or on the field, because you see the alignment and you know what's really good against it, but sometimes the quarterback won't see it. But we're seeing more and more people outside the coaching realm do these podcasts and break down things. And my point is, you can really do a good job if you on Sunday and Monday, but can you do it when the band's playing on Saturday and when all those people are there? So I think the reality is that it takes a lot of training, and fortunately for me, I've been calling plays since the 8th grade.
I know you have. In fact, Coach, I read Barry Switzer's book a couple of weeks ago. I was down in Florida. Bootlegger's Son, I think is what it's called. And he mentioned you in there. Of course, you were involved with Coach Switzer during that heyday of Oklahoma football. Pretty amazing, all the stuff that modern day football, the wishbone, Coach, you have basically seen everything, the evolution of offense in college football.
Yeah, you know, I was a quarterback in college and never did know a whole lot about defense or anything. When I first started coaching there at NC State, head coach got me going as a freshman coach, and the defensive coach there said, one of the things you need to do is, and he was trying to get me to do some of the work, but, you know, learn what it's all about defense. So I had to, you know, essentially be a guy that broke down the other team's offense and learned what to do and it really helped me early on in my career. And then my first really responsible coaching job at North Carolina, Bill Dooley was the head coach, and he was a real offensive line coach type guy. And I learned a lot more about line play, which really helps you calling plays. as far as schemes and things. And then, of course, going to Oklahoma, just totally different. I'd always been a guy that loved to throw the ball. And some games, we just had to manufacture ways to throw the ball to Keith Jackson to keep him from transferring. So, he only caught like 18 or 19 passes and still made All-American because we ran reverses and things like that. But the reality is, schemes don't work for you. Systems don't necessarily work. Players, but you got to break them in and get them into your system. And one of the things we did, though, that I feel good about looking back on my career is in the wishbone, we kind of made the move to move the fullback up so the mesh would occur closer to the line of scrimmage, so the ride would occur where the quarterback didn't have to hold it so long. And then we took a bigger split between our guard and tackle so the defense would have to declare who was going to take the fullback. So it eliminated some of the really reading process where we could actually predetermine the fullback or predetermine the quarterback. And that really eliminated a lot of mistakes because you see the ball on the ground a lot when people are reading things. And, of course, we had good players, too. I think 5 people on that team are in the Hall of Fame now, plus 2 coaches, Coach Switzer and myself. So we had some really good players.
Yeah, and the reason I enjoyed that book so much, I had forgotten about all that success when Coach Switzer took over for Chuck Fairbanks, instituted the wishbone, and then the rest is history. That was an incredible period of time, not only college football, but certainly at Oklahoma. All right, let's talk about this Saturday, Alabama, Georgia. Here we go again, SEC championship. I know you're looking forward to it. Let's start with the quarterbacks, Coach, because I really believe in a lot of ways Gunnar Stockton and Ty Simpson are similar. I mean, obviously different in certain areas, but what do you make of the 2 quarterbacks going into this big game? Because they both had really, really good years.
Well, we'll talk about Ty first, and certainly neither team would be where it is without these 2 quarterbacks, Doug. But the similarities start with the background, both of them being coaches' sons that, have done really well in the coaching profession. When you're around football 24/7 and understand so much about what to do, but also what not to do, growing up as far as taking care of the ball. And Ty's been tremendous at that. The only games that they've lost has been when they've had the big mistake and the big turnovers. But he just had an incredible game against us the first game. I mean, 7 out of 7 on 3rd down there, start the game, and then like 19 out of 21. And hopefully he won't be on fire like that this week, but it probably got to look for his best. He might do that, but he really does embody what I want in a quarterback, just fights and does everything he can to get first downs. You can see him calling plays at the line, and just everything he does is just really spectacular. I mean, I can't say it, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I mean, the guy's had a tremendous year. And then, of course, Gunnar, his dad actually played against me when I was coaching at Marshall, played defensive back for Georgia Southern. So we've kind of got a relationship over the years. And then I got to know him a little bit through Mike Bobo, who knew him from infancy, really, because, he grew up in the mountains of North Georgia. And then Coach Bobo's dad was up there and kind of helped him a little bit because Coach Bobo's dad had retired. But Gunnar waited in line here, Doug. I mean, he had to wait behind Stetson and Beck, but he really worked hard, worked on the scout team, and I saw a lot of really good play by him against our defense. And I think that's one of the things that people don't take into account is the fact that you're going against such good players in practice that it really benefits you as you get ready to go play these big games. You're going against guys that are getting drafted, and you really don't have that good support cast up front blocking. So you have to really kind of, do some things on your own. And Gunnar had a little bit of shaky start because we didn't really do that well early, but he's had some big games, when you look at Tennessee and Texas. Last week wasn't as good as we needed to, but overall, going into this game, I would say for sure this is 2 of the 3 best teams in the league.
Yeah, defensively, I think they're similar in a lot of ways. But what is the key offensively, Coach? Because I know Georgia's got some injuries on the offensive line. Alabama's running back Jam Miller, he may or may not play. I mean, he suffered a pretty high ankle sprain there against Auburn. So there are some key injuries. You expect that this late stage of the season. But what are the keys as far as the offenses, things they have to get done to accomplish a win on Saturday?
Well, one of the things that Bama has done all year is gotten by without a really good running game. I'm talking about something that you can count on down after down. But they've been able to manufacture some run plays with like jet sweeps and screens and all, which really are really run plays. But they do a great job of getting the ball to Bernard. And I don't know if their tight end's going to be ready to go either. He's been a big
I
part
don't
of
think
it.
so. I think he's hurt too, yeah.
But the reality is they do a really good job in game making adjustments with Grubb calling the plays and then Simpson doing the things at the line. So I would think for them, it's just their pedigree has been keep the other team off the field. Neither, and this is no slight, but you don't see as many stars on defense for Bama or us. I'm talking about guys that are unbelievable first-round draft choice guys. Maybe down the road there will be, but you just don't see people taking over games like we've seen from Bama or Georgia. So both defenses are vulnerable, but at the same time, they're playing with a lot of confidence too. So and they can stop you. So as far as the keys for Bama, I would just say continue to make those third down conversions and do a good job of protecting Ty, because it looks like the MO for Oklahoma and Auburn was to rush him. And they got some pretty good vertical pressure on him, but he's so good at dumping the ball off and avoiding the rush that you got to be careful about doing too much of that. But I think you got to mix that up a little bit. But from their perspective is keep the ball away from us. And then from Georgia's side of the ball, I hope a couple things here, and this is not poor mouthing, but we played the first game without either one of our tackles. And I think that hurt us. We played some guys that weren't ready, and certainly Coach Womack and the staff took advantage of that and really attacked us. I think we can have a better running game having our two tackles in there, but we did lose our center. So it's kind of a mix and match there. But the other thing, Frazier, our best back, fumbled early against Bama, and they benched him. He only was in for 4 carries during the game. But lately, he's a 100-yard back for us. So the evolution of him running the ball, the fact that Gunner's playing with a little more confidence, I think we're definitely better on offense than we were the first time we played them, and maybe a little bit better on defense, but certainly they are too.
I can't wait. And I wanted to ask you this. Ryan Grubb, who you mentioned, outstanding offensive coordinator for Alabama in his first year. Before the Eastern Illinois game, he moved down on the field, and he felt that was something he wanted to try, and he liked it, and he was on the field last week for Auburn. He's going to be on the field again. Coach, is that a little unusual where you go from long time in the booth down on the field?
I think it's just a feel for it. I mean, and you make a big deal out of it because not you, but people, just the fact that it's such a big change. And the one thing about the box is you got everything laid out from you. You know, you're not getting any people. You know, you can really concentrate. But on the field, you got a really good idea about what the players are thinking. You know, you can interact with them, you can see them, you can talk to them a little more. Certainly, you got the phone where you can talk to one of them, but you can talk to the whole group. And you know, the offensive linemen always think they can block everybody no matter what. So, but you got to be able to talk that. And it's kind of a situation where I think, from his standpoint, he felt like the juice that he gives them in practice, the way he's able to interact with them, maybe he can do that more in a game being on the field. But play calling is certainly important, but sometimes a little bit overrated. The biggest deal is you got two vastly unbelievable quarterbacks that can take that and do it during the game and make the calls. You see, they wait to the last second. They look at the defense and keep changing their mind, and that's because he's able to do that. You can't talk to the quarterback after, you know, with only 15 seconds to go on the headset. So, but I think it's a good move by Grubb, and he definitely, you know, he's the one that's calling the plays, and he knows what gives him the best shot.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's fascinating to me listening to you two analyze it. I don't know. I just I can't wait to see what unfolds on Saturday. Hey, tell me this now.
One I want to hit with you that I always
Sure.
felt like too, that just to add a little bit about philosophy is when there's a situation when there's a timeout during a ball game, I always like to see that when the guy goes over to the sideline, that the guy with the headset on the sideline puts the set on the quarterback so you can talk directly to him, because it doesn't matter what you feel like to a certain point. You've got that relationship with him and you can communicate. So what do you think, Ty? What do you think, Gunner? And because if they don't really like to play, even though they got to run it, it's not going to be as good as what Coach, I really don't feel good about this. And you can't do that transposing it, talking through a third party. So I always feel like, and that's what Grubb can do in this situation. He's talking man-to-man to the whole offense and the whole – because usually when there's a timeout, that's probably the most important play of the game, because somebody's called it and you're trying to make a first down or trying to win the game. So I like that kind of communication.
Hey, tell me this, with the flip in the CFP, Notre Dame and Alabama 10-9, Alabama now 9. I heard the guys on the show last night saying even if Alabama should lose to Georgia in a close game, they feel even with 3 losses that they're going to get in the CFP. Do you agree with that?
Well, they should. I mean, they've had a great year, and look at who they played. I think the thing about it is all these other, and of course we're SEC homers, but
sure,
realistically, all you got to do is watch the tape. You watch these kids that transfer from schools in the SEC. They can't play here, and they go up to the Big Ten and light it up. I mean, it's just and it's nothing against the Big Ten. Certainly Indiana and Ohio State and Oregon are 3 teams that would do really well in our league, but who else could do that from there? You know, every year you see it's just a bloodbath every game, and now we're going to have 9 next year. It's very difficult to sustain yourself, but I think that the thing that could really knock everything really sideways if all of a sudden BYU would beat Texas Tech, and that would really cause a lot of problems because you got to keep Texas Tech out, but now BYU's going to be in there, and you know what I mean. You got to keep Texas Tech. You know they'll move down some. Then how far will the Ohio State, Indiana loser move down, and that creates a situation. The one thing that hurts Alabama head-to-head lost to Oklahoma.
Yes.
So if Oklahoma has to move down, and then the other thing could happen if Duke wins. I don't know what's going to happen in that situation, but there'd be people standing in line to play James Madison. Although they're a good team, but that'd be a pretty good first-round draw.
Yeah, it would be, especially if you hosted them at your place.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Lane Kiffin and the LSU saga? I'm glad it's finally over. I was tired of talking about it. What are your thoughts as a guy who's been in the business a long time?
You know, there's a lot of different ways to analyze this. And in fairness to Lane, you got to look at what, in the final analysis, what's best for him future-wise. But I know it was very difficult to give up on your team. I mean, to me, you want to finish what you start. That's what you ask him to do. It would have been nice if he could have stayed with them and then delayed the decision maybe a little bit. But, you know, you can't blame LSU. But it really kind of set a crescendo of the whole league because all of a sudden Arkansas thought they had their guy, you know, then Florida thought they had their guy in Auburn, and then we've seen people go right and left, back and forth. But, you know, he's a tremendous offensive mind, and it's been well chronicled when you look at his career about all the decisions he's had to make. But there's not many people, and I think Ole Miss is a heck of a program, but there's not many people in the coaching profession that would turn down the LSU job. I mean, when you look at it, and you've been watching it as long as I have, they've got a tremendous history. So I can see why he took it, but from just my perspective, it's hard to tell those kids that you can't coach them for the championship. So that was the hardest part.
Coach, are you surprised Penn State, who was the first to fire their coach, James Franklin, early in the year, are you surprised they haven't found a coach yet?
I can't believe how many people, and of course, being a coach, just like you in the media, there's people, it's just incredulous that they could let a guy go like James Franklin, and then 45 or 50 days later, they're back to square one. It looked
Crazy.
like they thought they were going to get the guy at Nebraska, but that didn't fly because of his record. And it reminds me, a long time ago, Frankie Solich was coaching out there at Nebraska, took
Yes.
Osborne's place, and he was 9-2 or 8-3. And they let him go, which is one thing to let the guy go. But, you know, he's got a tremendous record. But then 55 days later, they hire Bill Callahan. They can't give that job away. So if my only thing, if you're going to let a guy go like James Franklin, you better have somebody in your hip pocket. But the thing to me, it looks really bad that from just a outside the box here. And I don't like to criticize people. That's not my job, but I guess I am. But you got to have somebody in your hip pocket, don't you, to take a place like Penn State. I mean, that's another great job. I mean, and then UCLA's been waiting a long time, and I guess they're getting Chesney. Is that right? Is he taking that job?
Yes, sure is.
I think Chesney's a really good coach. I mean, I watched him at Holy Cross, and when you're an old coach like me, you watch tape, and I saw them skin North Carolina's butt last year. They just really –
Yes, they did.
They got a good football team, and I think – certainly a good move by Auburn, keeping DJ. Whether they'll be able to keep him or not, all of a sudden, you got to watch what Lane will do if that Baker guy gets a job. So there's a lot of going to be a lot of, as we call, he-ing and she-ing over here in the next few weeks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we should tell our listeners and viewers, if you don't know already, when Coach was the head man at Georgia, Kirby was a starting DB. Mike Bobo was the quarterback. I mean, you got a lot of connections there still, Coach. I know those guys are very, very near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, it always makes you feel good to see your players do well, regardless of what the profession. We just had the 85 national reunion there out at Oklahoma. I wasn't able to go because of my health situation, but I was able to FaceTime them, and just makes you feel good to see what they've made of their lives. I mean, a lot of championship families involved now. And then the same thing here at Georgia, to see Kirby come back, not only just the fact that success they've had, but the fact that he's a graduate of here and his wife's a graduate of here, and the impact they've made in the community with all the foundations they do and the support of the university. And I know people outside of Georgia are not going to like Kirby because, he's winning, but when you think about it, you got to beat, when you take this job, you got to beat for sure some certain teams, and he hadn't done that great against Alabama for sure. Georgia Tech, Florida, Tennessee, and those are teams that, and Auburn. Well, he hasn't lost to any of those teams in 6 years.
I know.
It's just like an incredible record. And one of my neighbors was talking about their daughter just graduated. And during the process of the 4 years she was here, she watched Georgia win 2 national championships, didn't lose a home game, never lost to Tech, Auburn, Florida, or Tennessee. Pretty good thing to tell her grandchildren about, that's for sure.
Yeah, my 2 oldest kids graduated from Alabama during the serious run of Coach Saban. And I keep telling them, I said, enjoy that because it's likely to never happen again.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm talking a little bit here about the future, but you're just going to see the wild, wild west here in January with the portal, because now all of a sudden every team's going to have massive turnover in their own program because kids are looking for the money, but they're looking to play. They want to be on the field. And when you got really good players, only 22 of them can get out there. So we had 9 players starting on defense for people around the country this year that could have really helped our depth. But, you're going to see massive turnover in every program. And every year it's going to be like the NFL, Doug. You're going to see the roster is going to be built on your regular players, then the incoming guys you draft, and then the guys you add through free agency. In college, you're going to have a little bit of a base, the new players from the recruiting, and then the portal guys. So I can see 25, 35 players switching and changing at every team in the country. And the ones that have got new coaches, maybe 50 to 60.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That is really, really crazy. And to think what Deion Sanders has done at Colorado, had that really 1 or 2 pretty good years, and now things have kind of bottomed out. So when you're depending on that influx of new kids every year, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to build some connectivity with your players, because one of the things about having a good team is relying on each other and knowing about what makes a guy tick. But all of a sudden you're having that always turning people over, and it becomes more of a me instead of a team type deal. And we've had to work with it, and I'm sure Coach DeBoer, everybody's worked with trying to get to know these kids a little bit better, because you don't get them from the first time they come to college and try to build them up in your system. All of a sudden they come here, they've been some other place for 2 or 3 years. And usually when a guy leaves and comes somewhere else, he's looking about how can he help himself more than he can the team, maybe. So that's just the way it is.
Yep, it is. I'm looking forward to Saturday, Coach. And again, it's the UGA watch-along. Coach will be giving his expertise as things unfold in the game.
If you want to tune in, and we won't get on Bama too bad if they want to listen to us too. But, I think it's kind of a tough job without question, of what Coach DeBoer's had to do. Week in and week out, I mean, this guy's had some massive wins as a head coach over the years at Washington and even before that. And he's had a great record against, Sark and Kirby and Dan Lanning. Hopefully we can turn the tide this week and get this W, because it should be a heck of a game. 2 of the best teams in the country and 2 of the best coaches.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Coach, we appreciate it. I promise I'll plan that trip to Casa de Campo. I'll get you down there.
That'd be good. I enjoy looking at you on Facebook. I'm envious of all the I never see you in Alaska or in the
No.
North Pole or anything.
No.
Always someplace south. That's good, and I'm sure everybody enjoys getting to hear from you every week, and it's always good to catch up with you, buddy.
Thanks, Coach. All the best.